Peace Ministries. Would you mind doing the invocation, please?
My pleasure. Let us bow our heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you. We thank you, Lord, for being our God and our friend. We thank you, Lord, for being our Creator. And Lord, we thank you for covering us with the blood of the Lamb. And we ask you, Lord, at this time, that you would give us wisdom and understanding as we partake in the meeting here with the commissioners. Give them strength, Lord, we pray. We praise your name again and again. In Jesus' holy name, amen and amen.
Amen. All right. Okay, we'll start with the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions or commissioner concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a couple for commissioner concerns.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, the first one is I had a citizen contact me about a discontinued, well, not so much a discontinued route as it is a stop. And then I've got a second one, the septic hall is the road they use to get in to where they dump. The condition of that, those are the two that I'd like to add under commission concerns.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Do we have any other additions or commissioner concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the two additions, Axe and the dump road.
Got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. The motion passes. I'm going to read the Ethics Acts real quick that we're required to read at the beginning of the meeting. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in this particular matter involved. Does any commissioner have a conflict? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. At this time, does anyone have any changes or additions to the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we pull the December 5th emergency meeting minutes and address it separately.
Okay, we have a motion to pull the December 5th meetings and address them separately. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second by Commissioner Mims. Do we have any discussion? So we would have the December 5th meetings separated from the consent agenda to approve separately. At this time, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Like sign?
Mr. Chairman, with that change, I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by Mr. Gatewood to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second? With the changes.
Before you second that, please. Just, I apologize, I'm trying to, we have other minutes, January 3rd and December
We're going to approve them in the consent agenda, but this is separate from the consent agenda.
I just want to make sure you're fine with that. Okay, so I have those here for you if you need them.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
apologize for interrupting.
Yes, sir.
What about the December 6th?
They're going to stay in the consent agenda unless somebody would like to separate them out.
I reserve the right at this point.
You'd like to separate the December 6th minutes? Yes, sir. Okay, Mr. Smith, Commissioner Smith makes a motion to separate the December 6th meeting from the consent agenda. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Little. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, like sign.
Opposed?
Opposed. Opposed by Commissioner Gatewood, Mims, Cottle, and Bricken. The vote aye from Commissioner Smith.
Pardon, I'm sorry. I have to bring this up. There's no authority in the statutes, and there's an article on this that just was handed down by the school of government, that absentee voting or telephonic voting is not allowed. I'm not trying to be difficult, but I do want to point that out to the board, that the school of government has ruled that, or has issued articles saying that there's no authority to vote by telephone, and that it's most likely, it has not been entertained by the courts, but it would be most likely not accepted by the courts, according to the articles that I've read from school of government on this matter.
So at this time, there was a motion to separate the December 6th meeting made by Commissioner Smith and second by Commissioner Little. They voted to separate them out, and there were 4 votes to leave them in the consent agenda by Commissioner Gatewood, Commissioner Bricken, Commissioner Cottle, and Commissioner Mims. Is that correct? So then that moved to separate those out fails. So do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Well, they are also, anyone not present here, it would be my theory, based on the articles, they would not be counted as part of the quorum. So it would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vote. So whichever number it will be, the majority of the 6.
And I left Commissioner Woodburn out, so I just mentioned the 4 that were present and the 2 that were present. So there's 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think we've done that right.
And Mr. Chairman, my motion still stands to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the December 5th emergency meeting minutes.
Okay, at this time, we got a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims, to approve the consent agenda with the December 5th meeting taken out. Is there any discussion?
Both minutes of his bodies, so why you wouldn't want to hear both of them? Is there any reason why you don't want to hear the minutes of his body?
But we're approving the minutes for the December 6th meeting.
Well, you should approve it for December 5th. Why not?
Attorney Forbes, would you care to comment on that?
On the December 5th minutes,
Yes, sir.
Well, I know that there are some people who would argue that if you approve them, you're giving legitimacy to that meeting. However, there are other people who would argue that the minutes stand either way. So it would be the pleasure of the board and the majority of the board, whether they want to give legitimacy to those, whether you want to give legitimacy to that meeting with those minutes, or if you want to say, here the minutes are, they stand, and the minutes and the meeting would be valid or invalid based on the actions of these minutes. It's up to the pleasure of the board, either way on that.
And just to clarify then, let's have another vote. Who would like to vote to accept the consent agenda item without the December 5th meeting? We have Commissioner Mims, Gatewood, Cottle, and Bricken. So the consent agenda will pass minus the December 5th meeting minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And for clarification, Attorney Forbes, so I don't vote on anything since I'm not there, correct?
That is the way that's the way I interpret it, sir.
Okay, just wanted to know. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now,
Is that what the statute says, that he can't meet with us here today because of
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Okay, yes, sir. From the articles that are published from the school of government, and it appears that there's no authority to vote or to attend a meeting telephonically or electronically like this. Since the provisions of COVID were repealed on August 15th of 2022, there's no more authority to meet under certain circumstances. That's how I read the article, and I've checked on that pretty at the request of several members. I've checked on that rather thoroughly.
What is the statute?
Well, well, there's not a statute that says you can do it, okay? There's an article, I'll be glad to provide that article, for you. Let me see if I've got it with me, or if I need to pull it up. I know I've got some things. Let me see if I've got it. I'll see if you'll give me a little bit, I might can provide it for them.
Do you want me to hold off until you look?
No, sir, you don't have to hold off, because it's gonna take a minute to find it, if I have it here.
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to move to today's appearances. Let me see, we have, public addresses to the board. Can Mr. Otis, Kerry Rogers, please? And before you start, I just got the same thing. I have to start off each one. We get 3 minutes. Everyone gets 3 minutes. And Commissioner, Attorney Forbes will keep his eye on the clock.
Okay. Sir, I'll warn you when there's 2 minutes left, so you have another minute, if that's all right.
Mr. Rogers, remember to speak into the microphone if you would, please.
Okay, sure. Now, based on what I read on the draft of the zoning, I propose that this board of commissioners of Anson County, what happened? Oh, sorry. Can we start over? Let's see. Now, based on what I read on the draft zoning, I propose that this Board of Commissioners of Anson County reject or make major changes to this draft of countywide zoning because of its flaws. Now, this plan stifles and does not encourage home-based businesses in rural districts. For example, a home-based barbershop is prohibited, yet it potentially allows a landfill from less than 10 acres to more than 10 acres to be close to our homes and properties. Because of many problems that a landfill presents, such as polluting streams, stinky smells, heavy truck traffic, and a nuisance in general, this should not be allowed in residential areas. So landfills close to residential areas will be greatly lower property values. Also, chicken farms in which the chickens are owned by large industrial operations such as Tyson and Purdue should not be allowed to go anywhere without public and neighbors' input. The smell of these industrial-like farms stink and are a nuisance, and the waste of these chickens are not regulated. So also the potential polluting our streams. According to Charlotte Observer's statewide investigation on the chicken houses here, in this article, Anson County has the most chicken houses in the state, and I'm going to quote and unquote, Johnny Van Garis and his wife have lived in southern Anson County for about 30 years. They used to enjoy spending time on their porch and in the yard, and 24 poultry barns were built less than 2,000 feet away from their home. In recent years now, the smell is sometimes so bad his wife refuses to come outside. Flies and swarms of turkeys, vultures occasionally cover the roof of their home. Now, what is the point of having a zoning countrywide, or countywide rather, when nuisances like chicken houses can go anywhere without any regulation by the state of North Carolina? South Carolina requires input from those who live within a quarter mile of the proposed industrialized chicken houses. I believe we need to study our current zoning, that's a 2005 zoning, and make it countywide. We do not need to be in a hurry. We need to make sure the zoning promotes small businesses and does not negatively impact land value, and is not a governmental overreach, especially in rural areas. Again, I repeat, our zoning should not allow a landfill in residential areas regardless of how large or small it is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Christopher Borstop, please.
Borstead, yes, sir. So my name's Christopher Borgstead, and I just got out here from Austin, Texas. I came out here to write about the problem zoning has been causing in Austin, Texas. The impacts on economics, on race, and everything. So imagine my surprise. I get here, there's a zoning battle. Cool. I came out here to work on a solution based on a couple of principles. Community economic freedom. Talking about independent economic development. See, if you go back to the early days of zoning and they're trying to impose suburbia on everyone, they started putting their race plans into the zoning. You see this in places like Compton, where they sold all the houses, but they rented all the business space. You can see over the years as a community has the wealth extracted as they're moved to these areas and indentured basically to the nearest industrial employer. I think, was it Rockingham is more familiar with that than us. So what happens is everything gets locked in as it is, and you have to fight, expend a lot of resources, sometimes not a lot, but enough to deter people from fighting to change the zoning under their land. Those with less resources are less able to fight. And the people that are going to be causing those fights, well, they're moving in on the border of Anson right now into those new houses. They're professionals, they're upper middle class, and they're out here because of Charlotte and the inability of Charlotte to build enough housing to house them. So Charlotte's lost our game.
Which way? This way?
So, beyond that, we want to let the community actually engage in opportunity inside itself, and to be able to grow its own independent internal economy. And that means that government has to be a facilitator of opportunity, not a protector of it, because protecting opportunity, protecting all this, it's a barrier that lowers for people with wealth and raises for people without it. That means treating taxes as a value trade for the government services. It means looking into a more first-come, first-served land management system, but also looking at what the citizens want, creating plans that the county goes in with the citizens on to say, hey, okay, y'all want this? Cool, we want this too. We're going to build roads, we're going to put a right-of-way through here, we're going to help you build this if you build it that way. So if a developer from outside comes in, they got a plan the citizens already want. Hey, they can have multiple. They can pick from them. They can develop as the county wants it developed. The county invests, and if they deviate, the county lets them pay for it. And I'm working on that right now. And I just figured I'd come out and tell y'all about it, since you know, Anson's ideally positioned to take advantage of Charlotte's failure. So, anyways.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Add my name to what they said. I agree 100%. Two things I'd like to speak with you about. Number one, the Anson County Utilities Department website is not secured. If you're aware of that, then you should secure it. If you're not aware of that, you need to look into it. Have the IT department to secure the Utilities Department website. That caused a problem about a year ago, that the LGC article in the Anson Record more than a year ago listed other issues or county ongoing recovery from a ransomware attack in May. The county's reconciliation of records and reporting not being done in a timely manner, and a lack of technical expertise in the finance department. You're going to see the same thing happen again if you don't secure your website. Also, at the end of the minutes that was just published, is a continuation of the LCD's actions against the county, which I understand Mr. Sossaman's going to address. All commissioners should be aware of this. If you're not, I don't know what to say. If you don't understand this, I don't know what to say. The state of North Carolina is taking over the finances of Anderson County. They're taking that authority away from you. It's done. It's already done. The same reason that the landfill's out of control, the rendering plant on 52 is out of control. The same reason that our new zoning ordinance draft is very likely fraudulent. It's very likely has an element of illegal problems in which the person who wrote this was working with on his doctorate degree from Gardner-Webb University, and the Gardner-Webb University is also a signature of this agreement. But as we talked before, the zoning ordinance draft should be discarded. All connections with Ability Development Group, Michael Sandy, and anyone else involved in that group, be aware. Be aware. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Lott, would this time?
How y'all doing? Checking in. I know there's a lot happening behind the scenes when it comes to the zoning draft. Ms. Denise has been gracious enough to print out the 2005 zoning draft for Anson County that was instituted. It's in front of all of you in hard copy so that you can take that home and study it. With that being said, Mr. McGinnis couldn't be here this evening. He has a sick family member. He took the proposed zoning draft in front of you from the Ability Group and put it through 4 different plagiarism applications on the computer. It failed all 4. And one of the biggest things that it failed was it took from Davidson County, North Carolina, which has a completely different demographic than Anson County. Anson County population is 22,000. Davidson County is 170,000. Median income is 23,000 here in Anson County. It's 30,000 in Davidson County. Their industries are manufacturing, retail, and tourism, which is non-agricultural. Our major industry is agricultural. Manufacturing comes in second. It pulled from Pineville, a city here in North Carolina. Again, another non-agricultural demographic. So I keep looking for something redeeming in this draft before us, and I'm just not finding it. But when we look at the 2005 draft, it was written for Anson County residents. It was written, I don't even know who it was written by, but whoever did, with a few alterations, it was 2005 versus 2023, and some necessary additions. I think it could fit, and I think it should fit. He also did a comparison of how many times hazardous words were used: hazardous waste, low activity radioactive waste, landfills. The significance was unbelievable. We're talking 75, 80 times those words were used in the new draft versus 20, maybe 30 times in 2005. So please listen to your residents, listen to the people that are talking. We're taking the time to read it. We're taking the time to understand its impact in our lives and to better people of Anson County. And we're hoping that you're taking that into consideration as well. And I thank you all so much for your hard work.
Thank you, Ms. Lott. At this time, that concludes our public addresses to the board. We'll now go into appearances, starting with Pastor Ellerby, please.
Good evening. I hope you all are doing well. Since the last time I saw you, I told you I'd be back, and so I've already expressed my thoughts and my concerns, so I really showed up to see where you all are. Mr. Saltzman, Chairman Brigham.
Was that a question?
Yes.
Tell
The matter that we discussed
Okay.
last, as it pertains to the allowance by our fire marshal of certain people into the board meeting on December 6th.
And when we had spoke one evening, and I thought we had found the answer to your question, and I referred you back to Mr. Saltzman the next day.
What was that answer?
Well,
I mean, it's been a while since, nobody has reached out to me since
okay,
last time.
but when we found what we thought was a summary of what happened,
And could you state what that was?
would you rather I do it or you?
For the record here publicly, is what
Okay.
I would like. Because what we converse about on the phone is only between us. But I would like this to be stated publicly so it can be recorded and amongst the people that are here with, listening.
Your accusation was one of what I took to be a discriminatory practice on the part of the fire marshal whenever he was using his clicker to record the number of people coming in, because we do have an occupancy limit according to the fire code. And I know you specifically said he let folks in from Sheriff Howell's camp, if you will. I'm using the word camp.
Well, I don't know who camp it was. Technically, I can't say who supported who. All I know is who I witnessed come into the meeting. I don't care who they supported. I stated the last time I was here for the December 6th meeting that my support for the sheriff, that has nothing to do with this. So I want to make that clear. What I am here for, because who is sheriff is determined by votes or this board or whatever, and that's something that you got to decide. However, my concern is that if we are having a public meeting, that citizens of this county that arrive here first has access to the meeting first. Is that correct?
Well, anyone who arrives in whatever order they come to come into the building, so it's not according to where you live. It's
Right. I said whoever arrives first
right.
has access to the meeting first.
That's right.
I know it doesn't matter where you live.
That's right.
You're a citizen of Anson County. If you arrive at a public meeting, you have a right to have access to the meeting before anybody else that arrives after you. Is that a correct statement? If I get to a meeting,
it's first come, first serve.
Okay, that's the
No.
basis of what I'm.
Excuse me, there are certain if I may.
Okay, yeah, I would like to know.
Without turning this into an argument or anything like that, I believe on that particular night was an event where some people were getting sworn in that night. And so.
And I mean, I understand all that.
Okay. There were some allowances made for people that were family members of people to come in. Right or wrong, that's been something that.
Is that policy?
I'm not saying it's policy.
Well, that's all that matters to me. I'm not making an argument. I just want to stick to the script to get an understanding. Whether if I want to see anyone on this panel sworn in, I know what time the meeting is, and I don't see how, according to policy, the statement is written that anybody that arrives here before whomever gets access or is denied access based upon who you are or who's been sworn in. So I mean that sounds good, but that's not proper policy. Policy is public meeting. Whoever arrives here first has access to the meeting first, according to the count. Is that correct or not?
It was not that night.
Well, I'm just saying, is that the way it's supposed to go? That's the question I'm asking.
What would happen is if two sheriffs in the situation where they both had.
I'm not.
But
This is not about sheriffs. I really could
okay,
care less about the sheriff aspects. I don't want to bring that part is not my concern.
Let me just bring this up. So there's two different people that thought they were going to get sworn in, and there was an assumption that they could have a couple of guests to come with them. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just telling you what happened.
Well, if we bring that up, there was one that had already been sworn in.
Right.
Okay, so
But-
I mean, unless you're gonna swear that person in again, I mean, I didn't come to witness a swearing or any of that. I came to be to a public meeting.
But you asked what happened, and I'm kind of telling you what it was. I'm not saying it was right or wrong. You asked what
Well,
happened.
I want to know whether it was right or wrong. I want to know.
Okay, but start with let's talk about what happened. Right?
No, I mean, I don't want to talk around it.
You discriminated.
Yeah, I don't want to talk around
but-
and how. What I'm asking is the specific question that I'm asking. It's not an argument. It's a yes or no question. It's a direct question, and it's an answer to that question. And the question is this:
Yeah.
at a public meeting, do citizens of the county that arrive before the count is met, are those citizens supposed to be allowed access to the meeting? It doesn't matter what happened and why we were here and all. I'm not here for that. That's not whatever. Because if those are the deciding factors, then it's evident that those decisions were still made against policy. So what I'm trying to get to is the root of it. It's a yes or no. At a public meeting, who is allowed access to a meeting first?
The general public, by statute.
General
are allowed
public. That, right. So it doesn't.
However, I understand you have an issue with someone that you perceive to have come in before other people.
It's not a perception. It's fact.
Well, according to you. and
Not
what you
according
saw,
to me. It's according to other people. And the next meeting, if it lasts that long, I can bring another group of people. And it's not people of certain race nor gender. It's people of people. There was a line here in front of this building. First and foremost, if you expect a crowd, it is now the obligation of this board of commissioners to say, hey, courthouse, is that not county property?
Actually, we provide live stream.
I understand, but you
can do
can't
that
speak
with your
via
phone.
live. I can't come and make a public appearance via live stream. Do you allow that?
Yes, sir.
You allow public appearance on live stream?
There
Or
are
you
ways-
gotta-
There are ways to submit.
Do we have those?
Is that true?
Do we have those ways in place? Has it ever been practiced? Has it ever been done?
Yes.
Who's done it?
A lot of people used to do it, even,
I'm-
especially during COVID. Just
Okay,
because you
okay.
don't know it didn't happen doesn't
Right.
mean it
So,
didn't
but
happen.
during COVID, you did not allow people in the building.
Correct.
So you
We
had
allow
no other
people to
choice.
Email, we allow people to call in and stuff like that.
I understand that. Up until COVID, had you ever allowed any public appearance via online? Prior to COVID?
I'm not aware of any.
I'm
requests.
sure you're not, because it hasn't happened. The problem is here, and we know what the problem is, and so I come here to get an answer tonight.
What if I say that there was no policy, there was so much in place that we weren't involved from up here, number one. What we can look at is what
Well,
happened. Let's
right.
look at what happened, because that's the first thing that we gotta look. You have to look at the situation that exists, look at the causes, and then we can find a solution. If there's a situation that exists and we have no policy, then I'd be happy to discuss.
Well, I mean, we all know what the policy is, just by
But there is an assumption.
By being a citizen, it's automatically whatever is open to the public. When the public show up, then the public that is here first has a right to enter. That's why it's called public.
But for example, what if there was legal representation of one of the ones that wanted to come in? Would we not allow that? I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't. I'm just saying.
But it still does not remove my right as a citizen.
Right.
Even with the news people, media, yeah, we air it or whatever, but still they have no more of a right to come in because they have a camera and they come from Channel 9 or WBTV or whatever news station you can name. They have no more of a right to enter a public meeting than me as a citizen or any other citizen. So if you can tally off your count and allow legal representation or news media or whatever, there's still nothing that justifies that. There's nothing that justifies allowing the media in over me, a citizen.
Okay.
For one. Secondly, the person that was allowed in was not a part of the media. They was not a part of legal representation.
Well, we know there were several people
They-
that came in. But
I-
what we can do is, if we didn't have a policy, we didn't.
There was supposed to be 66 to be exact.
Okay.
So we can say 66 to be exact. The
But-
problem is this, and I don't want to talk around it. I want to talk at it.
Right.
And I mean, I got time today.
Okay. And
You know, and so I'm here to get to. I want you to tell me or whomever else right here tonight.
But we get to talk too, right? 'Cause
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't want to talk around it, because
Okay.
every time you talk, and it's no disrespect because I've talked to you before.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk around it. I want to deal with it. You understand what I'm saying?
There was not a policy that I'm aware of that was in place that night. Nobody from up here told anybody what to do down there. We didn't know what was going on. So if it's okay with Attorney Forbes and Manager Sossaman, we can get together and talk about.
I was
creating-
told that a month ago. So how do I know that's gonna happen? If it ain't happened by now,
Well,
I was told that a month ago. I'm no disrespect. I was told a month ago that you all was going to talk, that you would have a conversation.
I actually did have a conversation with our fire marshal, and
Uh-huh.
I've talked to you about that a couple times.
And what was your statement concerning
The
that?
statement was is that you indicated to me that he spoke to you in a CVS drugstore.
I spoke to him. Yeah, I addressed him.
And you asked him. He said he had a message to that effect to let certain people in
From a higher power.
up.
Okay.
Right, a higher power, whatever. That higher
Who-
power was not me.
Okay,
It
so-
was not Clerk Cannon.
Okay.
It wasn't Attorney Forbes. And I'm sure it wasn't one of these folks, because it was just stated by Commissioner Chairman.
Which brings me to my next question.
Well, I'm not finished yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Your statement that the general public should be allowed on a first come, first served basis. And that's true. I agree with that. However, we had two parties, one from each of the two sheriffs that were.
I have nothing to do with that.
Okay, I didn't say you did.
Okay.
Just let me finish.
Okay.
So, I think what they were trying to do, from my ascertaining of what he allowed, was he let those folks coming from the courthouse, I guess, over in Rockingham on that particular day, because that's where they were over there.
No, they don't even live in this county.
They were fighting their they're fighting their case to become sheriff, and so that's why they were allowed in after the fact. But you asked, I know where you're going with this. I'm not.
They were here. Well, I never seen them enter. I arrived here at 5:15 p.m. Meeting started at 6 o'clock p.m.
Okay.
I noticed another citizen that I know well, have nothing against that person. They received the same exact message that I was given and the other people in line.
Mm-hmm.
It was stated, I've said this year before, I've said this, I think I mentioned it in a commissioner meeting. It was stated by Scott Martin, who was helping out from the town of Waynesboro Fire Department. He was helping our marshal, Mr. Rodney Diggs. It was told to those outside, no more people were allowed in. We had met capacity. Nobody else could come in except somebody come out. Those were the words that were stated. I was not the only person to hear those words. Those were the words that were said. After that, preceding those statements, another citizen came up to the door, was told the exact same thing, except a phone call was made. I then immediately turned to the other people standing around in line, and I said, they will have access to the meeting. They went around the side of the building. I waited. I did make contact on the inside for someone to come out so I could come in. And I stated to them when I entered the meeting that this individual would be sitting in the meeting. When I came in the meeting, I came looking for that individual. And that individual was sitting on the front row. At the end of the day, that is a matter that has to be addressed. And if you're not going to address it, then that means you're in agreement with it. And if the statement that was made was that a higher up, so now which brings me to my next question. I want to identify who has the authority to tell our fire marshal who can come in and who cannot. So the statement was made because
I would have that authority to answer you directly.
okay. So now my question to you.
And
That's the person that I wanted to ask the question
And
to.
I have talked to the fire marshal. If the chairman and the board agree, I'll have him here at the next meeting so you can ask him directly.
Well, he was here at the last one, but he left, and good. And I didn't reach out again intentionally because I wanted to see if you all were going to reach back out like you said you were. That didn't happen. That's why I showed up tonight.
But when you and I talked, and you and I talked a couple times, and I thought you were satisfied with the fact that I passed it along to what I thought was the answer that you would be satisfied.
No, I won't be satisfied
Okay.
till we get some
Okay,
result.
but I didn't know because you never called me back.
Yeah, I'm not gonna leave it alone. I won't be satisfied till we get the
But
result.
this was-
I wanna know who's the higher up that has the ability to make those. If it's you, now my question is to you, did you make that decision?
I just said about 5 minutes ago, I did not make that because I wasn't contacted. I am not the higher up, whoever that person is.
Right. Are you the only higher up
Well, he's
that
the
can make that decision?
He's the one that works for me directly.
Right, but my
He
question,
also interfaces with the sheriff's department because of the emergency situation.
but are you the only person that can give him authority to allow somebody
At
to
the
make?
time, I am the only person, and I did not give him that notice.
So now, it brings me to my next question. Which brings me to my next question. I'm not here to make you upset. I'm really not. Here's why I'm here. Huh? I live here now. And I know whatever people say about this county is whatever. Here's my next question. So if you didn't say that, and you're the only one that can make that call, was not the statement made to you by the fire marshal that he don't remember who told him?
That is correct. I told
Okay.
you that.
So if you're the only person that can tell him that, it doesn't matter if he remember who told him.
I understand.
I'm asking, is that correct?
It doesn't really matter to me who told me. If someone did tell me.
It does matter, because if that was told to him and he followed it, isn't that discrimination? Yes, sir.
I feel like if we don't have a policy on this, and obviously we don't, then we can sit around and get a policy about.
That's what I was trying to say. We're not in
We keep going
disagreement.
back and forth. I just think we need.
We're not going back and forth.
I'm
trying to get an answer. I'm not.
Get a policy about
It is a policy. This is America. This is America. In America,
But-
citizens have rights.
But a unique situation took place that night. We couldn't prepare for it because we didn't know what was going to happen.
I don't
Okay,
agree with
so-
that, and I didn't come here to
Okay,
talk
but
about the
we
unique
can't-
situation.
we
But if we want to bring that up, we can. We knew that was going to happen. We knew that there was going to be the two parties that you stated here on December the 6th, because you knew, all of you knew what took place on December the 5th. So that in itself is not true. So I can't even agree with that, because the night before, some had already took place with another individual that was voted in, sworn in. So to not know on December the 6th we were not going to have a crowd of people here would not be
No, but
truth
we
at
didn't
all.
know about somebody clicking and all this stuff. We didn't know how to anticipate something that we had no idea about.
If there's no way this county or this board of commissioners, there's no way. Hear me. And again, I'm just being direct with you because I'm a direct person. There's no way that any of you can sit here and tell me, this crowd, these people watching live that may see it later, there's no way you can say to me and justify to me that you did not expect a crowd of people on December the 6th.
But what we're saying,
There's no way you can say
but
that.
rather than stay on that, like Commissioner Rim said, can't we just agree that there was a problem that night and create a policy?
I'm not okay with creating a policy because it should have never happened, because that is policy. So to say create a policy and let people move on and it be okay in itself, there's still no result.
But one thing that upsets me, let me just bring this up real quick, is the accusation that it seems like there's racism. But you know
Who
that-
said racism?
Okay, but that's what I heard from right here. From one
Did
of my-
anyone in this room hear me bring up race?
I heard one. I heard.
Did anybody
Sir,
in this
if you
room?
would direct your comments, please, to the board.
But I'm just saying, but you can't
You're
say.
being disruptive, sir.
I'm not
I've
being
been trying to
disruptive.
give you an answer.
I would not allow anybody to put words in my mouth.
Sir,
And he just said
Sir.
that I made this about race, and that is not true.
okay.
So,
You
sir,
made your statement.
my statement is this. I will not allow you, anybody on this board, to say that I said something or I have intent that I do not have. That is not true. The time we had conversation personally, I never brought up race. I brought up the fact of citizens. When he and I had this conversation, I never brought up race. So the channel this towards race would be a lie.
Okay,
I do not look at this as a race issue. I look at it as a county issue with citizens. And in fact, if you want to be technical, I will tell you what I see the issue as if you would have asked. The issue is, it's not about race, because it doesn't matter what race you are. If people are okay with you and you're okay with them and you're on board with each other, you're pushing the same agenda, you get along. So it's not about race. It's about favoritism, not racism. Because if it was about racism in Anson County, there are more black people here than there are any other race of people. So it's not about race. I want to make that clear. I'm not here for race. I'm here for right. And what was wrong, if there were white people in that line, if you want to be technical, that came here, there were elderly white people, women and men that was in that line.
There was a state senator that wasn't able to come in, that waited out.
Is he a resident of Anson County?
No, but
he don't need to be in here.
But it's still first come, first.
I mean, I'm just saying he didn't get here before I did. I mean, I'm just telling you. Can he determine what goes? I mean, I'm just saying, does he vote in Anson County?
If you got here at 5:15, you were here before I was.
Exactly.
Were you going to keep me out of the room?
You're a commissioner. You expected to be here.
I wasn't at that time.
Well, you should have been. You were sworn in that night.
No, yeah.
You have a seat right there waiting for you.
But
Nobody
was in the general public.
Nobody was sitting, but you had a seat.
I was in the general public until
on December the 6th. You were an elected official that just had not yet been sworn in.
Okay, remember that comment when we go to court.
Well, I'm just saying you were an elected official on December the 6th. You weren't on December the 5th, but by December the 6th, you were. I mean, I'm not going to court when y'all go to court. My matter is for this. I'm not here. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm not here about your sheriff issue and resolve. That's something you got to deal with. So that's why when you channel it to that, that's not why I'm here. I said it on December the 6th. I support democracy. Mm-hmm. I don't care what your, affiliation is. If what people vote for you, that's your position. I'm not here. That's right. That's the right way. What I'm here for is to see how can you justify that as being right that took place, that somebody was treated differently and is it as if they were better than the other people in that line. And it just be okay. How is that okay? I want to know, how can you explain to me that is okay? That's what you want me to accept it as being okay. It's a minute issue. I understand what you're thinking. Let it go, move on, keep. But I don't think it is minute. I think it has displayed how people feel and how they think. If you are telling a crowd of people they can't come in because, and here's the other statement that was made to me by the fire marshal, that the seat for that individual was already spoken for, accounted for. So if I can reserve a seat for a public meeting, can you please tell me where I sign up at?
You run for office and take his seat. Oh, that's not what you meant. Okay.
See, I'm glad he has some kind of sarcasm and facetiousness, but this is a serious matter. If these seats can be reserved, you see what I'm saying? See, it's a joke. It's all fun and games.
It's not.
It gotta be. These seats are spoken for right here. Mm-hmm. None of these seats are spoken for in a public meeting. And there's no way you can explain that to me and make that right. And if our fire marshal don't recall who told him, and the only person that can tell him is him, then that means either he did what he wanted to do, or he either lied or did what somebody told him to do. It's on one of three things. He either followed somebody's order, one, these are scenarios. Two, he made an own personal decision and lied about
But can't there sometimes be a reason why something happened without it being an excuse?
No, because when you say why it happened, that should be truth. If that is not truth, then what was the reason?
Well,
So I mean, you know.
well, there's a lot coming out of this that I think you can look at positively. We're listening to you. We agree there shouldn't be favoritism.
So what are you going to do about it?
I'm satisfied that we can, like Commissioner Mims said, we can get together and create a policy, and then if you want to see it, you
Okay.
can look at it.
So what does the policy do for somebody that did lie, that was unethical?
Then that would be a personnel issue, and we'll deal with that too.
That's right.
But far as
You would deal with it, or would a county manager deal with it?
That's
That's your jurisdiction, right?
well, if I deal with it,
Is that your jurisdiction?
yes.
Okay,
If
so
I-
I'll speak to you on that.
If I deal with it in such a way that the board disagrees with, then they, for an example, they have the last right, if you will.
Understood.
Okay, because if it's a grievance of some kind, because I'm not sure what outcome you want us to have with the fire marshal here.
It ain't about what I want. It's about this information that you have. It's about what you should do. It ain't about what I want. I wanted to come to the meeting. Other people wanted to come to the meeting. There were some people that wanted Commissioner Gatewood to be a commissioner. There were some that wanted Commissioner Smith to be a commissioner. There were some that wanted Commissioner Little, Commissioner Brickett, Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Woodburn, Commissioner Mims. They wanted them in these seats. They're not here because they just chose to be commissioners. They're here because citizens voted for them to have that seat. So now, if they are in a position to make these kind of decisions, shouldn't this guy, this young lady, this guy, shouldn't they be concerned about the well-being and the treatment of the citizens?
I think they are concerned about the well-being.
So now here's an opportunity to prove it. Ain't nothing to tell me. Show me. Because here's the case. Not one. You're looking at it like it's just me. I'm just the one that's telling you.
You're the messenger.
I'm the one that witnesses and I'm saying it. Yeah, I'm telling you. They're not saying it to you.
And what the commissioners have already agreed to during this discussion, they have agreed to develop a policy for such.
Okay, so the policy addresses who can come in, whatever, right? But it still doesn't address who served the citizens.
I'm not sure what you mean by who serves the citizens. This board serves the citizens.
Right.
I do.
And this board hires and put people in place that receive compensation that comes from the wages and the payments of citizens. Okay, so if you're a county employee, you look baffled. If you're a county employee, that means that you receive your compensation because of the taxes and all those things.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I didn't want to make. I mean,
We don't have the direct authority on hiring individual.
No, he
citizens.
does.
But you said we as a board.
Because, and I say we because he just mentioned to you that if he make a decision and y'all don't like it, what can you do?
Well, the manager serves at the pleasure of the board.
I understood. So if he make a decision and you all don't like it, what do you have the authority to do?
Well, we can override his.
Okay,
decision.
so which means you do have that authority. So you can't get out of the we. The we does apply to you.
He has the first.
Right,
opportunity
but
to
you have
fight.
the final.
We have the final. Yeah.
Okay, so you are in the we. We're having a conversation.
Sir, this business board has a lot of business to do. I just want to remind them that you did. But
You are the attorney. You don't have a right to tell me not to speak. They have that right. That's not your job. Your job is to be the attorney on legal issues. It's their job to determine
you have
whether.
the legal right to ask him to stop.
Yeah, and again, that's not your job. That's theirs. And I respect you, but I want you to understand that your place is not to tell me as a citizen whether or not I can talk and all of that. It would be if I had 3 minutes.
Okay, now stay over. We need to look into about getting a policy, and if Mr. Diggs done anything wrong, the county manager look into that and deal with that on the employee and county manager side, and we'll go with it from there. Because going this back and forth, we're not getting anywhere. As far as Mr. Diggs, that's going to be the county manager's problem. As far as what
And you all,
hold on a
right?
minute. No, it's county manager.
So will you agree with his decision automatically?
Yes, he's a county manager. But going back to, they have rules that they have to follow for the different disciplinary policy. Now, when you get into, when you say about the number of people and how this went down, we need to have a policy for that. Because you're right, we do need to have, we'll get a policy for that.
Last question, now that you bring that to me about a procedure for disciplinary, how do you handle discrimination in America?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to make a motion that we end this discussion. Mr. Ellaby, Pastor Ellaby has had 40 minutes, and we have other business to take care of, so that's my motion right now. Hopefully I'll get a second.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, second with Commissioner Cottle. Any discussion? In the discussion, right quick, I'll let you know, you have my phone number, we've talked, you can call me, and you can keep talking to me, but tonight in the meeting, cause it's gotta be fair to other people, I'll be glad you call me anytime, like I've always told you, and we'll continue the conversation about a policy, we'll look into the disciplinary situation. It's hard to prove that somebody can remember something, that's a pretty hard thing to prove.
I agree, but I'm not here to prove what they can remember, but we have proved the only individual that could have made that decision.
Okay.
So if the proof is that they didn't make that decision, it doesn't matter if they remember.
But right now,
that is the issue, and I'm a part of the discussion because I'm in discussion now. And my last statement is this. Here's my last statement. In America, what happens when you discriminate in the workplace?
it doesn't turn out too good.
What happens in discrimination issues in America?
You're in violation of certain civil rights laws.
And what happens to an individual that has a job and they practice discrimination?
It has to first be proven. But you said a few minutes ago it wasn't discrimination, it was favoritism. So
what's the difference?
That's what I'm asking you.
I'm asking you, what is the difference between favoritism and discrimination?
Legally,
So we're right in the
Okay,
middle.
here, last statement, I'm done, I'm going, I'm leaving. Here,
We got a motion.
I'm done, I'm
Make a
done.
motion.
I don't have the authority
Right,
to stop a
right.
motion, so.
But he's proven that he didn't say it, so if he didn't say it, then it's proven that whatever was done was not ethical and it wasn't right.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Okay, for now, we got, okay, we got.
Y'all have a good evening.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, and I'll be back
Yes,
again.
sir, you got my number.
Or I'll call you and I'll get an explanation.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to know.
Okay, we had 4 in favor, that 1 vote, I'm sorry, we had 4 in favor of ending this conversation, 2 opposed. Commissioner Gatewood and Commissioner Little were opposed to ending the conversation.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Little.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that was the first public appearance. Now, can we have Mr. Helms, please?
I would like to say thank you, board, for allowing me, Mr. Denise Cannon, Mr. Scott Ford. I'm not gonna take 30 minutes like the one before me did. But I would like to put in my points if you give me enough time. You give me a few minutes. I would like to say, Mr. Gatewood, you are my commissioner.
Yes, sir.
In my district.
Yes, sir.
And I do appreciate you, and I ran against you in 2018, and I lost to you. But that was a joyful loss. The only enemy I got right now is cancer. Cancer in my bladder. My kidney was taken out in 2000, and I got cancer in my pancreas now. Only my God above is protecting me. But what I'm trying to say is this. There's 2 points I need to bring to this board. Me and my wife have been living in this town for 7 years. We moved here in 2014. I see a lot of things that needs to be addressed. And you as commissioners, Mr. Chairman, I'm thankful to be able to talk to you today about this situation. There's 2 things that needs to be corrected in this county. Budgets within whole of the county and the sheriff's department. The county, we are short of, and I know Sheriff Powell will agree with me, we are short of deputies in this county. We have a shortage on the budget of this, we have a shortage on the deficit, And I like to see my wife protected because it's like this. You can't run a sheriff's department on a skeleton crew. You cannot do that. And my point is here, 2 points are that the sheriff's department, Sheriff Harold will agree with me, I've been trying to, my last meeting I came to was 4 years ago. I addressed the board on this. I want to be protected. I've been in my house last year and there was a guy come by with firing into another home down below me. What they call a drive-by shooting. You know, that's not unusual in Anderson County, a drive-by shooting. But the fact of it is, shortage of deputies is a necessity to calm and straighten out. Because this county needs more deputies. I come out of Union County. I used to ride patrol with the sheriff's department because at one time I thought I was wanting to be an officer. But they changed my mind real quick after I done a couple ride outs with the sheriff. And he dumped me out on the side road and he said, Mr. Helms, we're going into a dangerous situation. You have to get out. And I'll pick you back up. That was before they stopped doing ride-alongs. But I did that in Union County. Union County's got 350 deputies right now, and they're adding more. Anderson County has got what, 27 or maybe 20. All thing I'm asking the commissioners to do, loosen your budget. Give these deputies a chance. Give them a pay raise and give them the equipment they need to go out and do their job, because they have a job to do. Each one of us has a job to do. Your job, your job, your job, your job. Mr. Gatewood has been a friend of mine for the last 7 years. I've known you for 7 years. And if I don't live through tomorrow to be able to make my statement, I want y'all to understand, when I leave here, my wife is still here. I want her future protected. I want her life protected. Please, I beg of y'all, board, loosen up your budget. Give your sheriff what he needs to put some more men on patrol, and give him a handle to do what he needs to do. And also, I've been preaching this since Landry Reed was the sheriff. We need a Crime Stoppers organization here in Anderson County. Crime Stoppers might not sound a lot like to y'all, but it is, because it's a prevention of crime. It deters crime. It says, okay, if this guy does wrong, we're going to lock him up. It deters crime. Crime Stoppers does. And we need to work on this. This is a very, I went to the Crime Stoppers barbecue down there in Union County. They have a big Crime Stoppers barbecue. And it is great. A lot of people there. A lot of sponsors. Anderson County needs that. We need a big Crime Stoppers organization here, and somebody to head it up. And I'm not only going to bat for Sheriff Howe, I'm going to bat for Terry and Scott Forbes and our commissioner and our commissioners. I'm going to bat for y'all. It ain't all about me. It's about y'all too. Y'all's life is important just like my life is. And last Thursday afternoon about 8 o'clock, a rock come hurling toward my window. My wife was standing there washing dishes. All of a sudden a rock, we heard a big loud car come, boom, 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 and a big rock about that big, hit the wall of the house. Sounded like a stick of dynamite went off. Well, you know, people play with rocks, people play with guns, people play with everything. But there's still, the motion has not been filled that our sheriff's department needs some help. Mr. Moderator, do you hear what I have to say?
Yes, sir.
Do you hear what I have to say?
I hear you. Yes, sir.
And whether I'm living tomorrow or next week, or God takes me home tomorrow, this plea is a solemn plea that I asked of y'all. That would be one of the best gifts that I could ever have, is to see my community have better policing and more raises for their workers. And that's what I plead today, that y'all would listen to this and understand, because I don't know what tomorrow brings. Each one of us don't know what tomorrow brings. I might be a victim of a drive-by shooting. I might be a victim of anything. Now, this cancer is trying to make me a victim. But I'm going to get past that. But Mr. Moderator, I hope today, and I made it short and simple, that I plead to y'all to loosen your budget, give Mr. Scott Howell the ammunition that he needs to run his sheriff's department, and give him a budget. That's what I asked of y'all today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Helms.
Thank you very much.
We agree that the sheriff needs all the support we can give him.
I'm sorry?
I said we agree that the sheriff needs all the support that we can give him.
Could I come to the bench? I'm a little bit hard to hear.
Come on up.
Sorry.
We agree with you that we want to support the sheriff.
I solemnly believe, Sheriff Ricker, there has got to be a cure to this solution. And I ask of y'all, please work with Mr. Howell in his new job, his new career as being our sheriff, and please give him the equipment he needs to work with. That's all I ask.
Yes, sir. We appreciate your concern.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Helms. Good to see you, sir. God bless you. Yes, sir. Always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Conti?
Good evening.
Good evening.
You'll notice on your agenda that it states, Lewis Evans and myself. I apologize to the board that Lewis is not able to attend with us. The only reason that we were requesting a little bit of your time is we have someone that we would like to put on our board, and our bylaws state that we have to have your permission to do so. The person that has graciously said she'd like to be on our board is Tammy Newell. She's the owner of West Wade Venue. She opened West Wade Venue in 2018 and started with small events. In the last few months, she has started to actually use part of her area as a bed and breakfast as well. So she would also be considered one who's charged with putting heads in beds here in the county. So she would meet our criteria as for being a member. Her statement is, I believe that in serving on the tourism board, I can use my skills to assist our county in welcoming more businesses, events, and people to share in our wonderful area. So, with your pleasure, we would like to put her on our board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we add Ms. Tammy Newell to the TBA board and thank her so much for her cooperation and her interest and investment in our county.
Thank you.
Motion made by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion passes.
And I'd like to take the second, the way I always do, to invite each of you to our meetings, the third Wednesday at noon at the Rev Building. Thank
Come
you.
on. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. On the administrative matters, we have Yvonne Burr.
Good evening. My name's Yvonne Burr, and I'm the interim county health director currently at the health department. I come to you tonight to present, as you have with you, the policy for tobacco free. We had to incorporate a new policy. We had one that started back in 2015 for the health department that was 50 feet from the building for tobacco free and stuff, and that also meets for accreditation and stuff now. But now, with all the changes and stuff now to all our standard health plans and stuff now, we had to write a new policy that stated that we would be 100% tobacco free. So our Board of Health met on September 13th and approved the policy, but we come to you tonight to ask for your approval and support to support us with the tobacco free 100%. One thing I would like to state too is our environmental health building occupies at the annex building, and because other buildings, other departments are in there, we can't consider that to be tobacco free. So what we would like to do is to put signage on their doors stating that they are tobacco free.
This time, would anyone like to make a motion?
Anybody have any questions? Sorry.
I have one question, and it's a brief question. Have you received any complaints about the new policy to this point?
No, we have not.
Excellent. Well, I make a motion that we approve the policy, no smoking on the health department grounds.
I second it.
Got a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Little. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimous.
Thank you. While I was here, I was going to give you a COVID update, if that's okay, just
yeah.
with some numbers and stuff now. So we currently have 8,391 COVID cases. We have 68 that are active, and we've had 101 deaths.
Okay.
We
All
still
right.
continue to give the COVID booster and vaccines on Thursday at the health department. You don't have to have an appointment or anything and all. You can just come down and get you a shot.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions, you can give me a call.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Sheriff Howell.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to thank Mr. Helms for saying such kind words about the sheriff's office here. I met him for the first time about 6 months ago down at the health department when I was getting my final booster for my COVID, and I was just thinking about how a first impression I made on him, I guess, when he came here to speak tonight. Wonderful gentleman. I am here tonight to ask for your approval to hire 2 school resource officers that has been funded by a grant from the Anson County School Board. and they got a grant from the Center for Safer Schools. That grant could only been awarded to the school itself. It could not been awarded to a law enforcement agency. They reached out, they got that award, or got that grant, and the grant was for $44,000 for each deputy. The duties for the deputies will be, they will split their duties between Morven and Lylesville School. The second officer will share duties with the Peachland-Polkton School and Ansonville School. You can see the breakdown of the salary of what we negotiated on and the benefits and stuff that the school will pay for. And they understand that above that grant, they will have to pay the bottom line there is the additional cost it's going to be for the school to be able to, for us to hire those two officers. The Sheriff's Department will provide patrol car, uniforms, and issued equipment. Most of that equipment we already have. And so for the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office, it's going to cost about $2,000 per deputy to be able to fill this contract with the school. So I'm here asking for your permission and approval for us to go in this contract and agreement to the school and hire these two people, so our elementary schools that are stationed in the county will have safe law enforcement.
All right. Board?
I make a motion that we approve this for Sheriff Howell and the Anson County Sheriff's Department. Also with the funding, we need $4,000 from us.
It'll be $4,000, which will be for the two. Yes, sir.
With additional.
Well, actually, that would probably be already in our budget now. I would just ask that if it comes to be close to budget time that we go over, then we'll be able to get that money or move that money at that time.
Well, amend that for the budget. The $4,000 be put in a line item if he needs it at the end of his budget if he runs short.
I second.
Motion made by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Gatewood. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. And we sure appreciate the schools are so happy that you worked this out. And one quick question, don't forget we're supportive of the metal detectors in the middle school and the high school, and I know
Yes,
that some
sir.
of that's more of a city thing, but we thought about that too in the security, overall security issues.
Yes, sir.
So, and
We'll be able to assist the school system any way we can, whether it's in the city or whatever. I know lots of times we go out to the high school and assist with things and in ball games and other situations they have out there. So it's really a collaborative effort that makes the school safe.
yes, sir. And I've heard a lot of good positive feedback. The word of the SROs is already out, and I'm sure everybody's happy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Now we can go to the manager's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is, I sent out to you before, with that new policy, I'll remind you that you adopted back in, at your January meeting, and that one made it incumbent upon your county manager to submit a budget calendar to you on or before the 31st day of January, and we did that, and you have it in your package, and we did make a change that you requested. That was so that the budget, actually, so that our Wednesday, February 15 meeting is now at 6 p.m., not 4 p.m. Unless you decide you want to move it back. So
6 p.m. is good, yeah.
So you can give it formal approval.
Yes, we appreciate the 6 p.m. change.
Okay. So but I want you to approve it, and when we do, then Ms. Cannon's going to post it so the public will know about it.
Okay, at this time, does anyone wish to make the motion?
Make a motion that we approve the Anson County budget calendar for fiscal year 23-24.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously.
The second item, Mr. Chairman, is a fiscal accountability agreement between Anson County and the Local Government Commission, the LGC, as it's commonly called. This is probably the second time we've done this. This goes, I think we did it a couple of years ago. And what it's going to require is for me, even though I'm guilty by association, for these audits that weren't done. The two new commissioners, Commissioner Caldwell and Commissioner Little will have to attend certain classes on budgeting as well as I will have to. I think it's required six hours each. But there is some good news because we just got from our independent auditors today, because we've already had that in-person meeting. I think it lasted 2 hours or so. This goes back into December. But from our independent auditors, they feel like that by the time we get to your next meeting, that being I think March 7th, we'll hopefully be able to present to you a final 2021 audit, and in which case we'll jump right into the 21-22 audit. And we're going to do all of that while we're working on the 23-24 budget. So it's going to be some busy months.
Well, we look forward to learning more about the budget.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of choice with the with this fiscal accountability agreement. You just adopt it, sign off on it, we'll ship it back, they'll sign it, and so once we get through the next year or so, because I think to get back in their good graces, we've got to get both of those delinquent audits completed, get our budgets this year completed, and then probably after that budget year's over, submit another audit that is acceptable, and I think by that time we'll be back in the LGC's good graces.
That'll be good. That'll be great. Okay. I had one question. An update on the 2 properties that we were going to auction off.
It's moving slowly, but I'm gonna have to talk with Larry and see if we can expedite it or find someone else to handle it as opposed to that group that's out of, I think they're out of Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay. All right. Any other manager report or questions?
I just need to get you to, if you're so inclined, to adopt a policy.
Okay. Do we make a motion to adopt the policy?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Gatewood, seconded also by Commissioner Cardle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, like sign.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. On the chairman's report, I just have one thing to mention. We've been communicating with Dr. Truman, who's the chairman of the school board, about the middle school, and the bids came in a little higher than we expected, so we're proposing a mutual meeting with the school board, going to be on February 20th at 4 o'clock at the school board, and I'm just bringing that up in the chairman's report to just let everybody have a heads up that we hope that everyone can schedule to be there, because the middle school, there was an assumption that we were coming in between 32 and 34 million, but the bids came in much higher, so we need to talk with the school board and find out how we can figure out how to solve this situation. So if everybody can look at their calendars, and clerk will send out an official email for 4 o'clock on the 20th at the school board. And now for commissioner concerns with Mr. Woodburn.
I'll tell you what, I'll just get with the manager, since if I understand the attorney correctly, I can't participate due to the change from the school of government. I'll just get with the manager on both of these.
You can participate, you just can't vote. You can participate in the meeting, you just can't vote.
Certainly.
Oh, okay.
Certainly,
I
certainly,
guess I misunderstood.
Yes, sir.
If I left with another question, I apologize.
I had a citizen that brought up a concern to me. They were, I don't know for how long, I didn't think they asked that, but they were using ACT to go to Walmart in Rockingham. I think they were doing it about twice a month, like every couple of weeks. And what was happening, it wasn't just a trip to Walmart that ACT was doing. They were dropping people off as they went through Richmond County on their way to Moore County, I believe it is. And when this lady called to set up transportation, I think about a week ago or maybe a couple weeks ago now, they told her they were not doing that anymore. And I think there was some issue with a particular trip, particular situation. So, in view of all of the citizens that we have, and this lady is you know, she doesn't have any transportation and she doesn't drive, and I think we've got a lot of elderly people that's in that situation. I would like for the manager to get with ACT and see what could be worked out on this, because now that she doesn't have this method of transportation to get there, is putting her in a bind and kind of a dire situation at home to get in as far as getting the things that she needs.
Okay.
The other thing is I was informed by one of the septic haulers that the road they have to use to get to wherever it is they dump at, I guess the wastewater treatment plant, is in really bad shape. So I'd like for the county manager to investigate that. And I know with all the rain we've been having lately, it might be kind of difficult at this point to do something about it. But I think as soon as it makes sense, that road needs to be fixed. So those are two things that I had.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I entertain a motion that we would go into closed session to have a discussion with our attorney.
So moved.
A second?
We have a motion from Commissioner Mims, second from Commissioner Gatewood. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.